Okay, hi, good evening. How are you? Chalo,
Hi.
let's get
Good.
this. How are you is basically for the mic test and all those things.
Okay.
I know you're good, and you'll be better. Don't worry.
Sure.
So let's revise. A couple of things we discussed last time. Basically, I'll just push it into present. Today we are trying to basically build our Python environment, and then go in depth of creating our first Python program. And if time and this thing allows, we might try a couple of addition subtraction program as well. Okay, so today we are going to set up our environment, right? So I would like to have you downloaded those Python things by any chance?
Yes, Ravindra. Yeah, I do have like the Python as well as the Anaconda editor as well, Ravindra. Yeah, I
Okay,
did try
great.
to open it as well, and
That's perfect. Even if you
yeah,
download, that's more than enough. I'll
sure.
guide you how to install and what type of path and settings get updated, because this is a bit of challenging environment. It's not as simple as run the setup and clap for you. There are a bit of twists and tweaks a couple of times with the 34, 24 beats and all those things. So we will discuss those things, why we have those things, and how to cope. So don't worry. Okay. So as we know, Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. Let's try to understand one by one. Is that interpreted? So Python as an environment. See, there are compilers, there are interpreters. Compilers are basically what they do. They take the program from you, they take the instructions from you and execute at once. So if you want to give a compiler a program like C is a compiler base or procedural language, that's what they call. I'll explain these words step by step. First of all, computer is a dumb machine. It couldn't understand anything plus from on and off, as simple as that.
I'm not too much sure if we have lost you. You are able to hear us, Ravindra?
Yeah, I cannot hear you.
Have this bitmap called A on the screen.
Ravindra, sorry, actually, your voice got cut, Ravindra. I don't know, maybe like I think you started with the interpreter. I think after that, I think your voice got cut. I think, Ravindra.
No problem. No problem. I'll repeat. Don't. This
No
thing
issues.
over the internet and all those things. So please do so. Okay. So what happens when I press A on a key?
I'm not able to hear anything now.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
You search for anywhere on.
I think Ravindra, I think sorry to interrupt. I think your voice got cut, Ravindra. Actually, yeah, we couldn't hear you actually.
Yeah, both of us couldn't hear you. Again, I think it got cut.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Now is what? Yeah.
Pardon me. So.
No issues.
You can basically interchange your keyboard with any computer. Means desktop keyboard can be used with laptop keyboard, because these communication are standardized, right? These are called ASCII computers. If you go to Google and search for ASCII keyboard numbers, you'll get a specific number, capital A65, and so on and so forth, right? Now, when you give these instructions, the processor has a queue saying, okay, keyboard instructions come from keyboard, instructions come from mouse, instruction comes from a mic, and blah 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 things. Now these are queued at a processor. Now today we have multi-processor based system. So there are something called threads. These are execution queues. There are, if you have 64-bit processor, it means it can process 64 extension such queues at one time, right? If you have 32-bit, you'll have 32 such queues allocated by processor to execute at a single instant, and that gets executed at a clock speed. So if you have something called clock speed of a processor, this is what we're talking about. So when you say actual speed, clock speed is basically the data bits 34 or 64 into the clock speed of a basic processor. Let's say 4.7 gigabytes per second. So this is speed what we are talking about. This is the speed at which the machine calculates the accepts your instructions. Second cycle process the instruction, as we say, in terms of shifting memory. So when I say A plus B, it'll basically the ASCII character 65 plus ASCII character 66, and whatever numbers you put in that A and B get added and placed on another memory location, where that location get popped up to the compiler or interpreter, then it's showcased on your screen. That's the whole scenario happens in the background whenever you do these things. Why this is important? Because as a Python, as a data scientist, we have to utilize maximum power for data crunching. Data crunching is typically a math processor's job. This is not a graphical processor's job. We are not churning images. We are churning the raw data in terms of, variable A, variable B, data entity like integer, data entity like character, data entity like character is basically varchar in data. Data entity like stored procedure execution. So stored procedure execution is a kind of queue which get executed from a database, kind of listed command. So these are called batch files. Stored procedure is kind of used to call as a batch file. Stored procedure is basically a batch file of a database, right? Now, whenever you give these commands, there are these queues get executed at once. Okay. Now let's try to understand interpretation and compilation. Interpretation is basically, in a layman terms, these queues get executed one at a time, so it's a bit slower. But whenever you get an error in any command, you get notified then and there. In compiler, when you give this complete program to the processor to process, it execute the complete program, and if there's an error in line 2, it basically stops in terms of executing, because, well, there's an error. The processor can't continue depending upon the error severity and blah 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 things, right? So, and you might get number of errors much more than the lines of codes in your program. Now, compiler get executed at much better speed than interpreter, right? So what we do, as far as Python goes, we use something called Anaconda as an interface or IDE, where we normally give these complete programs and pass it as a single queue. So it's kind of, we are standing in between interpreter and compiler. Okay, but basically Python as an environment is an interpreted code executions. Does that make sense, sir? Or have I confused you, sir, madam?
Yes,
we are
it's fine.
good. Yeah.
Do you want to explain in your words what you understand by interpretation and compilation? There are questions, asked in 1 or 2 interview. Means I've seen around 150 plus interview. That's my experience. So there are questions like these in few interviews. Please explain me the difference between interpretation and compilation, and why Python is an interpreted language. Why Python is interpreted? Because it's created so. They have started developing Python environment as an interpretation environment. C is a procedural language. Okay, so Python we take extra help to create as a compiler to leverage the extra speed we can get with a compilation thing. Does that make sense, sir, madam?
Sure. Yeah.
And if you have any question, please let me know, and I'll try to explain it again. No problem. And then there's something called object orientedness. Object orientedness is basically a kind of where we are trying to basically create, there's something called procedural and there is something called object oriented. So what is procedural? Procedural is basically I start walking from my home and I reach office. Object oriented means I have a representation for an office. I have a representation by a home. As I travel daily, I might build some easier way to reach there faster, or I'll start keep improving day by day. And this is what we can say object orientedness. My thought process is according to the objects. Now these objects have a couple of thought process already built in. It's called encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and so on and so forth. Okay, if you take a course of software engineering with IEEE, there's a specific directory and specific thought process on object orientedness at IEEE site, IEEE.org. It's a free sites for all engineers. If you're an engineer, you can register there, and you get all these software engineering global standards. You can refer there. So there are a separate type of documents available for object oriented or orientedness on IEEE website. You can have a look at it. But mota on a layman's level, object oriented, you improve your thought process to understand the overall architecture in an object oriented way rather than sequential way. Okay, these words are used sparingly, complicatedly, but normally I never seen some interviewer asking a question about encapsulation inheritance in Python. In C, those are common questions. So if you are working with C, the object orientedness is really imbibed into C up to a great level. In Python, we use object orientedness. We do create objects from a class, so that whenever I serve, like we were talking about the clustering, right? In clustering, what happens? I created an object of actual physical machine and refer it as a physical machine. Object in the sense, in a memory, I might create a map saying this is Ravindra's desktop, which I assume is in St. Louis, and then communicating with the North American audience, something like that. So you create a logical map, even if the physical location might differ. So the physical location is actually my class. The logical location is a kind of image in the memory of a computer at some different place, and I refer to that image as an actual. And internally, that image conveys those messages to the actual thing. This is my programming, because I can have multiple such images in multiple such regions to serve as a Ravindra Pandey giving lectures on Python data science at many places, like we are doing it, right? I'm at your home, but I'm at your home as an object. Basically, I'm sitting in Mumbai in my house. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this way we can create our thought process as far as object orientedness, right? And this is a high level programming languages. This programming language is evolved over time. Okay, we'll come to that, the version numbers, and how do we label it and so on and so forth. But mota, it's continuously improving language. Even my last session, near about 5 months ago, there was the version which I was using was 3.9. Today there's a 3.10.2 version available, and I have just updated. I'll show you how to do that, and that way it's continuously keep improving. And you can go to the Python site and I'll guide you how to, and check about the updates available there. Normally, we have to make a practice to update this version at least once in a month's time. Okay, so we need to update our Python environment at least once in a month. So it's a high level programming languages get updated almost on a monthly or bi-monthly or at least half yearly basis. Okay. Now, Python is a clear programming language and comparable to Perl, Ruby, Schema, or Java. Now, clear programming language is a kind of, really hazy term. I normally don't use this, but at Python creator, they use it. See, Python is created by scientists. There's a website called python.org, Python, python.org is the basic site where we can refer to the all Python latest materials. Pardon me for that. So here what I'm doing, I'm trying to refer to Python as an platform where the platform is, they believe it's much clearer than Perl, Ruby, Scheme, Java, and so on and so forth. And this is a normal thing. I feel I'm the most handsome person in the world, something like that. But more or less, yes, Python is much, much clear. If you compare to C, you can have a pseudo code. Pseudo code means the code, I put it there just for putting it there. It doesn't do anything overall as far as work to do. Like it doesn't give any instructions to CPU, but normally just, eats up time or try to defy the guy who comes for maintenance. And this used to happen quite a lot. In Python, the way of writing pseudocodes are much more minimalized, but still there are. We don't want to go to that level where we normally, create a backdoor or write a pseudocode kind of scenario. But overall, we will understand what is clarity step by step whenever we start programming, right? Any confusion till this point?
No, everything's fine.
No problem. It's a high-level built-in data structures. We have quite a good number of advanced variable types in Python combined with dynamic typing and dynamic binding. Dynamic typing in the sense you can have, multi persons developer team attached to a single program or single object, and then dynamic binding is get compiled or interpreted on fly. And then we can deploy, use something called rapid action development, RAID. That's what they call normally. Okay, so it's RAID enabled. That's what it means basically. RAID in the sense you can work with some environment called development operations, DevOps, as they say normally. So Python is compatible with DevOps standards as far as continuous delivery and continuous integration, CI/CD, pipelines. DevOps is basically an environment of development with around minimum 15-16 tools works together in unison to have a continuous deployment on a web server, on a cloud server, and then it's get delivered to the users as early as possible within seconds. In good old earlier days, we used to have something called compilation or interpretations, build the object code, and then there's a release cycle. The release cycle is normally once in a month, or after the product development gets complete and all those things. In today, we live in agile world, agile in the sense flexible world. So whenever a good piece of code comes in, gets tested, verified, we get clubbed with the release, and then release get updated to the server instantaneously. And of course, it needs all the flora and fauna of approvals, authorities, deployment, and release managers stamp on it to say that it's fine for deployment and all those things. But overall, this gets done in a milliseconds rather than months together. Okay, so that's how we work. Then we have Python supports modules package, which encourages program modularity and code reuse. This basically helps us in basically building code from a conceptual diagrams, and we'll have a look at those things whenever we do the projects of how the conceptual diagrams can be converted to the actual programming. So don't worry on that part. The Python interpreter and extensive standard libraries are available in source or binary from without charge from all major platforms, and that can be freely distributed. This is python.org. I'll take you to the python.org. And oh no, not this one. Okay, this is a python.org, today's website. There are documentation, and you can go to documents. Okay, you can download documents. You can have these things. There are beginners guides as well. Have a look at it, play around with it. Right now we are at 3.10.2, and that's what I have updated my Python to. I'll guide you how you can do it too, and then you can have all these documents available to you as far as beginner. Have a look at beginners guides. They will give you a good hint of what things to do, what not to do as far as beginner goes. And there are quite a good number of books available here also. I'll also give you a couple of books whenever we go into the actual programming. so that we normally relate ourselves as a data scientist and we think in terms of data scientist. Okay, so please I'll share this link whenever our session completes today, so that you can have a look at this site also. Sorry. You couldn't. Oh, sorry. I have not shared that thing. Pardon me. Extremely sorry. So this is what the python.org looks like as of today. Right now, I'm sharing it through a web portal where okay. I'll go back. This is the actual site. Latest version is 3.10.2 for Windows basically, and then we have Linux, Macs, and Ubuntu and all the other things as well. You can have a big previous releases also. You can have the Docker images also. We don't need those things. We normally go with Windows, and I think ma'am have Mac, so she will go to Mac, right? And you can have all those things here. You can draw the download the previous version. If you have Windows 7, you need this 3.7.1.2. Okay, and then if I want to see the documents, I'll go to documentation, docs, right? Here we have beginner's guide. Please have a look at these things today, tomorrow, whenever you have time, and we'll discuss these things. Okay, then we have all the advanced packaging programming guide, blah 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 things. This is really a great useful site. They have tried to keep it as user friendly for all data scientists as possible, because there's a open system version. This is the open system version. If you pay them certain, I think 20 USD per year or something, you can have a specific logins, and you can have a specific support where you can call to them in case if you have a problem as well. This is what the open system is all about. You have support at almost penny wise. So you pay $20 per year and you get a support from Python support desk. Okay, this is all the basic Python guys who have developed Python from so long, right? So you can get attached to it if you want to. There's no need to as such, and I'll guide you various different website links to refer to at least once a month, so that you'll be updated with your versioning and blah blah things, right? If you go to downloads, there are downloads of source code, Windows, and blah blah things. But the best part for us right now is basically the beginner's guide, and then we'll go to the developer's guide. So when I click on beginner's guide here, what I'll land, so we can have a look at overview, so that how Python is basically notable features, what are the latest updates, and blah 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 things. And then otherwise I can go to these different websites mentioned here, where you can understand or start understanding how Python programming can be done with their thought process. There are good number of different websites mentioned here, list of beginner guides pages, and have a look at it if you get a time. Otherwise there's no need to as such. Okay, I'll go back to my presentation again. Man, where is that? Why I have to do? Okay. So yes, so overall we got an idea of how Python environment development has to be set up for us, right? I'll share this link with you after the session as well. Does anybody have any question at this moment for me?
Just one thing, Ravindra. Okay, yeah. I'm good with the last 2 points that you have listed out over here, Ravindra. Can you just repeat that clear programming and dynamic typing and dynamic binding alone? Those 3 keywords alone?
Yeah. Don't stress on these words. Sorry. This is, as we discussed, Python is an interpreter-based platform where we have extensive standard library. Now, library is a source code developed by others, which can be used in your program as a part of your project. Project is basically entity of multiple program. You normally, build the compiled form of a project is basically, that's what we call object code. There's a source code and there's a object code or a class code. Whatever we type is basically source code. Whenever you compile, those instruction gets converted to the machine level, where we have that machine level instructions compiled in a file of .class or .obj. These are machine level files, normally tells processor, tells the ID, tells the multiprocessor based system, the instruction, how to queue these instructions given by you in a program and execute it. There are some processor specific object codes. There are some machine specific object code. So whatever I have created object code on my system might not work on your system, because unless and until I add those instructions. Okay. So there are some standard libraries which are created for the number of available architectures. Like we normally use Intel 64 platform, as mean me, you, madam uses Mac platform. So for Mac, the source library can be different. Standard library means normally Intel 60, the library created for Intel 64-bit processor. Okay, that's why, madam, I have suggested you to get a low-end laptop if possible. Otherwise, we can work with Mac also. Okay, so the standard library or the different version of your standard library might be different if you're using Mac. Doesn't make.
I'm actually using HP Windows now. I
That's great. Then, yeah, so we are on the same page, because sometimes it happens. Mac gives you some error in terms of the color is not actually orange, it's coming as a red, and those so on and so forth. Because when you do graphical things, Mac are quite efficient machines. They excel in graphical thing, but Intel excels in mathematical processing, and we are doing mathematical processing at this moment. So that's why you could understand, right, the difference between the environment. So that's why I normally suggest Windows PCs or Windows laptops. Okay, and we are using 64-bit. Those all libraries whichever we downloaded, if we compile, we'll get same error. Even I have Python environment on this desktop. I'm using okay, I'll share with you basically. Give me a minute. Oh, come on. This was basically sorry. This is basically going to help you to understand how we where is this computer thing? Sure. Okay, this PC. Okay, there's a okay. I'll share my complete screen so you understand. Give me a minute. Where's Zoom? Okay, share screen. Share entire screen, right? Share sound optimize. Where's the entire screen kind of screen? I don't know. Oh, come on. Share. Okay, could you see my desktop? There's a lake, this thing. Yeah. Okay, now when you go to this PC or my computer, I'll go to properties. I'll basically get the actual description of my PC. Could you see this thing?
Yes.
I'm using my PC name is Ravindra PC. I'm using 11 generator 11600KF clocked at 390 gigahertz or 391 gigahertz. It's clocks in between these things. So these are CPU cycles we are talking about. I have installed 16 gig of RAM and 5.9 is usable. So only 1 gig of RAM is used right now by the environment. Then this is what we call Mac ID. This is a product ID of OS, operating system. So this is a license allotted to me by Microsoft as far as Windows 10 Professional is concerned. I have 64-bit operating system and 64-bit processor. I'm not using any touch or pen. I'm using mouse and keyboard. Okay, these are all specification importance whenever you do low-level programming or you are trying to be a data scientist. Okay, now I'm using something called Windows 10 Pro with a version 21H2. I don't know what that means, but it means something. Installed or updated on 28th November 21. Okay, and then there's a OS build, there's a pack release versions and blah 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 things. These things are not that important, but if you have something called i5 processor with 64-bit, it's more than enough for data scientist development. Okay, and these processor, if you work on a similar platform, the errors will replicate or there'll be similar errors. So I can guide you in much depth. If you get different error, then I need to ask you to perform those things and then come back to us, or you need to share your screen and then we'll go step by step. Okay, there's nothing odd in that. But thing is that if you are working in a group, this is kind of standardized thing. So you can use i3 or i5 processor. and this is the way you can check your basically the hardware and software. Okay, so this way we can correlate why you're getting us a typical error and why I'm not getting this thing do happens. Okay, and these type of variable, because Python, C, these platforms are created for a specific hardware. And if you go to something like data scientific libraries, those are also released for specific hardware. So if you look at TensorFlow, even Google have developed some specific hardware to accelerate TensorFlow working at a given point. We'll discuss that thing whenever we learn those libraries and all. Okay, so this is what we call basically nth level hardware accelerations provided for certain development platform. Okay, don't get confused. We'll discuss at times comes. Okay, so we are talking about standard libraries. Now let's talk about source form we discuss, binary form we discuss, and yes, these are freely distributed because Python is developed by a scientific community, and so they keep almost 95% things freely available to you. The rest 5% are basically with a charge, because they have put in some extra what you can say, they have incurred some cost for those things, and they want to distribute those costs among everybody who wants to use those things. And this is what we call open system based licensing or BSD licensing. This started with Berkeley Unix as an open system license, floated for many scientists in I think 1991. They have started this concept of licensing open system. So open system is basically almost freely available, or around 90% above freely available. The 10% specifically kept away because they have certain either restrictions by governmental or any legal obligations, or they have certain extra cost attached to it. Does that make sense, sir? Madam?
Yeah, we are good.
Have I solved, have I, addressed your confusion?
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead, Ravindra. We are good. Thank you.
No, nothing to be sorry about. We are learning. So, the inquisitiveness is good, right? Only in case if I don't know, I'll come back to you. It's not like that everything I know in the world. There are quite a few things which even I need to study. I need to get updated. Okay. So, I'm just saying. So, yes. And as I say, I'm the most handsome person in the world. So the Python guys, Python scientists, Python founders. Python uses an elegant syntax. Everybody says that my handwriting is the best, making the programs and programmer write easier to read. So I believe whatever I write, everybody can read, but that's not the scenario. Many times my teacher told me, you write what only God can read. And yes, sometimes even I couldn't read what I have written near about 10, 15 years ago. So this thing do happen. But as we say, yes, I'm the best. Python is the best, and we can go on and on about gloating ourselves. So, these are quite a few simplistic statements. They've kept it there because many interviewers. Okay, now interviewers against, there could be very great fan of Pythons who might take your interview. So if you gloat C in front of Python guy, he might get agitated and not select you. So whenever you give interviews specifically for such platforms, try to understand this is the best platform that there is to available for data scientists. And let's try to, speaking those terms. On ground, there are many gray areas. It's not black and white, but still, well, every platform has their own issues. Every platform has their own challenges. But whenever you talk about Python, in Python interview, try to gloat as much as you can. Try to beautify it as much as you can, or use the best possible words to explain Python's features. An easy to use language makes simple to get program working. This makes Python ideal prototype for development and other ad hoc programming tasks without compromising maintainability. Well, code maintainability is the way you develop the code. So there are something called coding standards. There are something called coding guidelines, secure coding, and blah, blah things. Now here we have to understand those, look and feel of source code whenever you code. I'll guide you on that as well. We do some indentation to separate out blocks of code. We do some, line spacing in between and so on and so forth. I'll guide you on that. And that's make the code more maintainable. Okay, and we already talked about the pseudocodes. Python is an interactive mode. Python interactive mode makes it easy to test not snippet of code. There are also a bundle development environment called IDLE, and Anaconda is one of the IDLE, one of the most popular IDLE, integrated development language environment. Okay. Comes with a lots of standard library that supports many common programming tasks such as connecting web servers, blah blah blah, searching text with regular expression, reading and modifying files. Okay, so this is all about the platform and environment. Okay, again, if you are a C programmer, I would request you to go to this wikipython.org, where we will understand how C is different from the Python. Okay, but if you are not, there's no need to as such. But if you have developed anything in C, you might have a look at these things. So we'll compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, because as a C programmer, or normally scientists come from a C programming background. Engineers normally work with Fortran. Scientists normally work with C, and that's how it was. But now scientists are normally starts their career with Python. So you might not want to have a look at these things. In earlier days, like before 2 years or so, many C programmers joined the bandwagon of Python data science. They're still working on that, and I'll share a couple of videos of them also. They'll try to compare these things. Everywhere they speak about Python, and normally you try to compare. I'm also started my career as a C programmer, so you might heard many such references in between. It's not like I'm in love with C, but yes, C is one of the best sorry, I shouldn't say this. Sorry. Again, Python is the best environment there too. Most easy, good to read, vagara, vagara, vagara. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So this is how we need to work it out. Then what are the prerequisites? Okay, as far as object-oriented languages need, we have all variables, loop, control statement. There might be a bit of difference in programming from C and Python. Let's say 20 to 30% at the max. Overall, the programming is similar. If you know one set of platform, if you study it hard, if you know the all glitches and know how to solve error, you can learn other language quite easily. And that's why every time, wherever we develop, we normally refer to my best language, which I have worked with or which I am working with. So whatever we do these referencing. This is a human psychology, right? Whenever we learn new things, we normally refer to the older things to compare with them. Think about, it's like you are trying to eat pulao. You normally will remember the taste of the last eaten pulao and this pulao, and then you will try to compare. So if you eaten last pulao from the best chef and this pulao like yourself made, or from some first time pulao maker, there'll be some challenges, right? So you might not eat as much as you eaten last time, and this thing do happen. This is human psychology. So that's why even it basically common with developers or scientists as well. Okay, so let's take a step further and let's try to understand how Python, how we can set up our environment. Okay, to install Anaconda, I have shared this thing. You can download the latest version. To install Python, you can download the latest version. Okay, I believe we have completed this step. We will work on Jupyter, but let's try to understand. I don't know why this slide is okay. For Python syntax, we normally refer to W3 resource. Now, as today, we normally work in cloud environment. So all our instructions normally go through a web server layer. And W3 resources are the best scientific community or scientific commercial community, which helps all these web server compatibility issue resolve. And for that, wherever we try to understand the best possible syntax, we should refer to this w3resource.com. It's a, again, they have quite a few number of open system based instructions shared for the new data scientist. As and when you normally join a company, be it NASA, American military, or any company for that matter, Patni, Wipro, TCS, blah, blah, blah thing, they might have a license from w3resource.com where you get added instructions for if you upgrade to Python 3.11, which is not come yet, what are the things you need to do to take care of in terms of the environment of Python 3.11 and pandas so and so versions. Okay, so there are some specific changes which each and every versions and the compatibility issues which are normally get solved with syntactical alignment, and we can refer to such syntax on w3resources.com. We'll refer to these sites whenever we get challenged, so you'll understand these things. Okay, and syntax normally include indentation, spacing, tabs, spaces, blah 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 things. Okay, because there are quite a few number of commands, they get executed similarly, but they are specifically made for certain specific environment, certain specific hardware, certain specific combination, or they work effectively if you do it that way. Okay, let's take a step further. And oh no, not first program. I don't know why this sequence got to these things. Oh, come on, man. Okay, where do I put this? Okay, now today morning only I've updated my Python. So let me take you to the command prompt. Okay, it's still there. Okay, wow, great, no problem. So in your command prompt, just type CMD in your okay, sorry, I'll stop share and I'll share screen, blank screen, right? Okay, could you see my complete screen?
Yes.
There's a block in between, right?
Yeah.
Here I'll normally type CMD. Could you see my command prompt?
Yeah, yes, Ravindra.
Okay. And if you press enter, you land here. Okay, this is what we call normally administrator command prompt. I'm an administrator on my desktop. Okay, here I'll come here and it'll talk me about what type of Windows version and blah 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 things. And when I type Python and press enter, I get the version of a Python, whatever available. If I type Python again, Python, oh come on, and press enter, this is how the version which is changed from last. This was October 21, and today, oh come on, I've just updated it. Okay, it's only got updated couple of libraries instead of the basic Python interpreter. So here, this is what the versions I've installed on. This was the latest version when I moved to 3.10. Okay, and this is how they can go. When I give this command, python.m.pip.install, and I'll copy this in a command. Okay, I need to go to here, edit, and copy. I'll basically paste this command in our WhatsApp so that you can run this command. Where is that? Okay, run this command to update your Python if you have any older installation, which will take you to the latest installation. It'll give you the version, subtools, and blah 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 things. And this will be different for every version. Okay, and when you type command called pip list, it gives you the pip, which is programming interface. Oh, I forgot the last P. And the subtools, the libraries with it. They maintain a version number for these, and that's what the numbers. Okay, now this is what I call a Python command prompt. 3 greater than sign, right? No, less than sign. Okay, where's the arrow? There's a less than. So 3 less than sign, that's my Python command prompt. Okay, I can type help, or I can just say, if I want version, can I get version? No. If you give a wrong command, this is something like this. Python, Python. If I want help, I'll just do this. That's also not possible. There's an error. Okay. I want to have version. Okay, that's also not possible. So
I think it is Python space minus version.
okay, let's try out that. Wow, see, good.
Today I just tried. That's why.
That's also not working, I believe.
It's not? Okay.
They might have changed this thing. They keep changing. I don't know why. This scientific community, sometimes it's really irritating thing, but yeah. So if I want to check, I'll just say help, and I'll, they say it's okay. Let's say python Python help. Does that work? No. Let's try minus. No. Let's try forward slash. Oh, come on. HELP. Right? There's no space. Okay. Otherwise, what I'll do, I'll go to Google. Google is the best guide. Python, Python, PROMPT, VRSION, check. Simple. Python prompt version check. On a Python terminal, no. Not NK, Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is the developer's friend. So you can go to Stack Overflow, okay, -v. But this is not working. I don't know why. Let's try. Python, Python -v. Huh, what the heck? Python, Python. Is there a space in between? Man. No, there's something wrong, I believe. I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. This should work, yeah. Yeah. There's in these three things, right? Let's try VB. Not tuple. Oh, man. Let's try the VB thing. You can repeat your last command with upper arrow only. So it's easier here. This is a Windows command prompt. I don't know why it's giving me error, but no problem. It'll work with Jupyter. Don't worry. Okay, and you can clear these commands with CLS, I believe. No, CLEAR, clear. Oh. No, something wrong, I believe. Oh. No, something wrong with my instruction, I believe. Please turn your PC. Is it working? Can you share your screen? Anybody? Stop share. Could you check out how to see versions on your PC? Could you show us?
Sorry, maybe I was just talking on mute actually. Okay, I hope now you're able to hear me.
Yeah, we are able to hear you, sir.
Okay, yeah. For me, right, I've installed Python, but the thing, right, okay, I know I'm not too much sure. It's the same 3.10 version, but it will recognize only if I put it as py and not py, the Python, the full word, right?
Could
Python,
you share your screen?
Yeah. I'll share my screen. Just 1 second. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, I don't know why. Okay, I'll make you host. Wait a minute. Make a co-host. Okay, I made you co-host. Could you able to share now?
Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you are able to see my
Yes.
I
okay.
can
Yes.
share it. Okay.
Centro is your screen, right, sir?
Yeah, Centro is my screen. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
Okay, just type
if I do Python, right? Okay, it won't go in. Actually, it'll just kind of like open up my app store. So that's why, right? Okay, the way it works for me is that, right? Okay.
Okay. It took you to the. I don't know why. Okay.
For me, it is showing actually. The version is showing. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, whereas, sorry, please go ahead, ma'am. Sorry, maybe I'll stop sharing. Yeah. So this is the way I get it.
By one. Could you please, type Python -v or something like that? Okay, it works as a py.
Yeah.
Enter.
Yeah.
No, that's not working. Just type v. No. Just give one minus. Yeah. Why it's not working? Or let's go to ma'am. I don't know why it's not working.
Sure. I can stop sharing. Yeah.
You just stop share and let's go to ma'am. Yes, Rajni ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay. Is it showing?
We'll not see the version on command prompt, but we're just trying to understand the environment readiness.
Can you see it? Or?
No, ma'am. It's still, it's coming up, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are the owner. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Yours is working. Oh,
I
great.
just
See,
said Python and yeah, I just typed this, so it should.
okay, this is a, yeah, Python 3.9 is a older version, but that's okay, no problem.
No,
You will,
what happened was I installed Python 3.10 and then I installed Anaconda. So I was having some problems like the version differences. So I think this is coming from the Anaconda version. I'm not
okay.
sure. I got totally confused.
I need to update my Anaconda. I have not done that yet. I've just updated my Python today morning, and this thing to happen. This is what we call missyncing in the overall environment build. That's why this is really good. I'll update my Anaconda after these sessions. Don't worry. So that will basically get resolved. So I think Balaji is same with you most probably. Okay, chalo. Let me. Could you please stop share? Let me start my share. Otherwise.
Okay, I'll stop.
Yes. So this is how it works basically. Where's my playlist? Oh man, where's my presentation? Okay, presentation is with this black thing, right? Yes. Huh. Okay. So here we go. So this is how you normally check versions and all those things. I have already basically given you command on this how to do the PIP install. PIP is basically package manager for Python. Okay. Python 3.4 later PIP included by default. 3.1 we got these PIP things after 3.4. Okay, so as we have the updated version, so no worries on that. So you can check the PIP version with this command PIP-version. Okay, I think we have passed that. Yes, for Anaconda, Anaconda.cloud, getting started with Anaconda individual editions. Whatever you downloaded, please note down that versions. I'll update mine. I have mine as Anaconda 3 2021. So I need to update to latest one so that all these Python version thing will also work, right? And so on and so forth. You need to basically get registered with your Google account or whatever account you're using. Please do accept cookies also so that there will be no problem. They won't share your data with anybody. These are all scientific community. So please don't worry on that part. Okay. So we have to install Anaconda as well. You have Anaconda on your system, Balaji, madam?
Yes, I downloaded Anaconda.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, you also have no problem. So I'll just skip through these things. These are all how the Anaconda gets progressed one by one. These are the screenshots from my previous Anaconda version. And Anaconda comes with, when you start Anaconda, or let me start it for you. Well, I'm using this 2.10 version, so it'll get started as it is. Let me, stop share, share the screen. I'm going to start. I'm clicking on Anaconda. I'll start Anaconda Navigator. Okay. Oh, come on. It takes a minute basically, right? And I have 16 gig of RAM and everything. This is basically loading every possible library which it has with it. So it takes a minute basically to have these, lots of batch file executed in between and setting up the environment for the Anaconda. It's normally referred as a Conda sometimes. Okay, Conda was the group who started, building these IDE, and then some people got added, so they renamed it as an Anaconda before the big Anaconda movies and all those things. Right? Those Anaconda movies, big serpent eating, humans and blah 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 things. Oh, come on. Okay, I don't know. Let me check out. Might taking some time, or yes, now it came. Yes, this is how it started basically. So you get all these things free with Anaconda. This CMD prompt, data load, IBM Watson, Jupyter, Notebook, Orange Tree, Spider, Qt console, PyCharm, and Studio. So PyCharm is also with you. You don't have to install anything additionally. You have Spider also with you, and you have Jupyter also with you. Mostly these three things we are going to use. If you know R, you can use RStudio as well. But predominantly, we'll work in Jupyter and Spider. Okay. These are the things which are not installed yet. Wherever I can see install. Could you see these buttons, right? Where there is much, these are also installed. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
I could launch Spider, but I couldn't launch Jupyter from here. But then Jupyter, I could start from the close the Anaconda, and then Jupyter by itself was working. But from this screen, I was not able to launch Jupyter.
Could you have a launch button there, or could you have install button?
There is a launch button, but nothing's happening.
Okay, let me try out. Again, same thing with this, configuration issues, something. See, mine is also not coming, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some, no. How do you open this item? Oh man. Okay, no, I need to get this thing updated, and then, we'll have a look at it. Okay, yeah, Jupyter got opened. It gives some error, but this is how Jupyter looks. Anyway, we are going to use Jupyter as an normal command line prompt, so don't worry on that part. Okay. So either this way or straight way. Even I normally try to use Spider like this. I go to here and I click on Jupyter Spider. You mean to say like this, right?
Yes, like this it was working, but I couldn't launch from the Anaconda.
I don't know. We normally don't go here. We normally just click on these and whatever libraries get loaded in the background. Something like when I click on Spider, the Spider will get opened. Let's see. I click on Spider from the command. The start this thing.
And
Spider is. Go ahead, ma'am.
Will we be using PyCharm? Because for me, PyCharm did not launch. It still said install.
I don't normally use PyCharm, but we can, no problem. PyCharm is much similar to Jupyter. Don't worry.
Okay, then it's fine. I don't have to install it, right?
Yeah, you don't need. And the more you install, the more, takes resources of your system, right? And this is basically the last program which I was worked on, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is how the Spider looks. Could you see Spider on my thing? I have selected a dark theme. I normally, like to have dark theme because, it's quite early in India, right? So that's why I use this, dark theme. I like this theme. So there's no much light emitting from my monitor. Okay, so this is how the overall environment looks like to us. Okay, I'll take you to my PPT again. Yes. So these are all things get installed in the background, and what all things like, the NumPy, all the, basic matplotlib, all these library got installed with Anaconda. So we have all these library at your systems. So we are ready with Python scientific, data science development overall. Okay, this is how it's looking. Now, for the syntactical term, I already talked to you on this. This is where we normally refer to. Okay, let me play a good video for you on Jupyter programming. I'll go back. Yes. Okay, let me play this Jupyter video for you so that you'll understand. 1 minute. Let me